Welcome to Table Tennis Philosophy. Have you ever started a match with a plan in place and decided about halfway through the first game that your plan wasn't working at all? And a lot of times players have this happen where they have a plan, are reluctant to change it, and what happens is they end up losing the match because they weren't able to adjust. A big part of winning table tennis is adjusting, and failure to adjust and failure to adjust on time is one of the reasons players quite often lose close matches and sometimes lose lopsided matches that they could have been competitive and possibly won. The right approach to take when you're playing a match is go in with a plan, have some idea. If you've scouted your opponent, you might have a good idea what you want to do. But table tennis then starts becoming much more like a game of chess because no matter how good your plan was, your opponent, they have a plan too, and they probably, if they're a good player, have adapted to what you did. So the change of strategy, change of tactics might be a whole lot more frequent than you think it would be. And I think a lot of players, certainly beginners and developing players, go into matches and don't adapt at all. It's like, this is my serve, this is my game, this is how I play, and I'll either win or lose based on that. But that's not a good idea, because to play well, you're going to have to take into account that your opponent is going to adjust to you and you're going to have to adjust to them. And you may have to adjust in the middle of a game, you might have to adjust several times in the middle of the game, you might have to adjust every single point. In fact, that's probably the way you should be looking at it. Table tennis has been compared to chess, and that's really every single time you serve, every time you set up a point, that's where you're going to have to make an adjustment, and you can't ignore that. And ignoring it will produce a lot of losses. So a good way to think of it is that, okay, obviously you can't be strategizing and on the third or fourth shot of in the heat of a rally, at least not too much. So between points, you definitely want to figure out what you can control. Can you control the serve? Can you control where you want, do you want to play to your opponent's backhand? Do you want to play to the corners? What do you think is going to be the most effective? And quite often, this will change from point to point. And like I said, I'm trying to get players away from just playing mindlessly. For American people in the United States, or anybody that's familiar with baseball, a good approach is the approach of the baseball pitcher. You go with your strongest pitch, but you can't go with it every single time. You want to keep your opponent off balance. So in baseball, it would be something, fastball, curveball, different locations. That's exactly how you do it in table tennis. Are you trying to win with spin? Are you trying to win with no spin serves, short serves, long serves? All of those things could come into play, and it very much depends on your opponent and the situation. But whatever you do, you can't just not think about it. In fact, you need to be thinking about it every single point. A lot of times when you're watching top players, it doesn't appear that they're putting that much thought into it, but in fact, the best players are adjusting their tactics frequently if necessary. If you got something that's working, you stick with it, but you'll have to change. All right, so you don't want to play mindlessly. Sometimes you're just going to have to change up your tactics and definitely have some. All right, we'll see you next time. Thanks.